The human diplomatic ship arrived at Station K-17 without ceremony. No music, no banners, just cold metal, quiet docking clamps, and a long list of rules written in 3 human languages and 7 alien ones. Evan Hale read none of them. He stood near the airlock, hands in his jacket pockets, watching the docking lights turn from red to green. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was chosen because he could stay calm, smile at the right moments, and speak clearly when everyone else wanted to shout. That, and because he once survived a first-contact dinner without insulting anyone's ancestors. Station K-17 was the first joint military station between humans and the Crithari. The Crithari were known across the sector as elite warriors, tall, broad, strong. Their culture valued discipline, honor, and control above all else. They did not laugh easily. They did not joke. And they did not understand humans. The airlock opened with a hiss. On the other side stood 6 Crithari guards in black combat armor. They were all over 2 meters tall. Their skin was a deep slate gray, their eyes gold and unblinking. Their posture was perfectly straight, like statues carved for war. And behind them stood their commander, Commander Threxka. Evan had seen images, videos, tactical reports. None of them prepared him. She was taller than the others, her armor etched with silver lines that marked rank and battle history. A long energy blade rested at her side. Her face was sharp, severe, and calm in a way that made people think twice before speaking. She stared at Evan. Evan stared back. The silence stretched. Evan cleared his throat. Hello, I'm Evan Hale, human diplomatic liaison." Threxka did not respond immediately. Her eyes moved over him slowly, assessing. Weaponless, smaller, soft by Crithari standards. Finally she spoke. Her voice was low and even. "You are unarmed." "Yes," Evan said. "That's usually a good sign in diplomacy." Another pause. "Among my people," Threxka said, "only the weak arrive unarmed." Evan smiled awkwardly. "Among mine, it means I trust you." That earned him several confused stares from the guards. Threxka stepped forward. Each movement was precise, controlled. She stopped just short of personal space, at least by Crithari standards. By human standards, she was very close. "You are small," she said. Evan nodded. "I get that a lot." Again, silence. Evan felt the tension rising. He had read the reports. Crithari culture discouraged unnecessary speech. Compliments were formal. Insults were dangerous. Emotional language was rare. So he did what humans often did when nervous. He tried to be friendly. "Well," he said, glancing at her armor, then at her face, "you look cute." The word slipped out before his brain could stop it. The station went dead quiet. The guards froze. One of them actually inhaled sharply. Threxka blinked. Then it happened. Her slate-gray skin began to change color. At first, Evan thought the lights were malfunctioning. Then he realized it was her. A deep red hue spread across her cheeks, then her neck, then faint lines along her temples, bright, obvious, impossible to miss. The Crithari guards stiffened in alarm. "Commander?" one asked. Threxka took a step back. "No," she said sharply. "Remain silent." Her voice was steady, but something was wrong. Her breathing was faster. Her posture, still strong, was no longer perfectly controlled. Evan's smile vanished. Oh no," he said quickly. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean if that's offensive, I—" "Silence," Threxka ordered. She turned away from him, shoulders tense. The red coloration did not fade. "This interaction is concluded," she said after a moment. "You will be escorted to your assigned quarters." She walked away without another word. The guards followed, casting strange looks at Evan as they passed. Evan stood alone in the airlock, heart pounding. "What," he muttered to himself, "did I just do?" Within hours, the entire station knew. Humans whispered in their mess halls. Crithari warriors spoke in low, urgent tones among themselves. Security feeds replayed the moment again and again. A human had spoken a forbidden word. A Crithari commander had changed color. something that had never happened in recorded history. In her private quarters, Threxka stood motionless before a reflective panel. The red tint had faded now, but the memory had not. Cute. The word echoed in her mind. Among the Crithari, appearance was discussed only in two ways: battle readiness or weakness. Beauty was irrelevant, attraction was private, emotions were mastered or crushed. And yet her chest felt tight. Her thoughts were scattered. Her control, perfect for decades, had slipped because of one careless human word. She clenched her fists. "This is unacceptable," she said quietly. She activated a secure channel. "Summon cultural advisor Rith Khan," she ordered. The older Crithari arrived minutes later, his movements slower but his eyes sharp. "You summoned me, Commander," he said. Threxka did not turn. "Explain the human word cute." Rith Khan paused. "That is a complex term." She faced him. "It caused a physical reaction. Explain." Rith Khan hesitated. "Among humans, it can express affection, approval, or emotional warmth. It is not tied to dominance or challenge." Threxka's jaw tightened. "Then why did my body react as if threatened?" "Because," Rith Khan said carefully, "your mind did not classify it as insult or praise. It classified it as personal." Silence. "This must not spread," Threxka said. "It already has," Rith Khan replied gently. Meanwhile, Evan sat on his bunk, replaying the moment again and again. Cute. He buried his face in his hands. "Great job, Evan, first day. Offend the scariest warrior on the station." A soft chime sounded at his door. He looked up. "Enter." The door slid open. Two Crithari guards stood there. Between them was Threxka. She looked exactly as dangerous as before, but Evan noticed the slight stiffness in her shoulders, the way her eyes avoided his for just a second too long. "You will speak," she said, "only when permitted." Evan swallowed. "Yes, Commander." She stepped inside. "You used a word," she said. "Explain your intent." "I was trying to be friendly," Evan said honestly. "Humans use that word when we find something pleasing, not weak, not less, just nice." Her eyes searched his face. "You felt no challenge." "No," Evan said. "No insult, no threat, just a thought that escaped." Silence filled the room. Threxka exhaled slowly. "Among my people," she said, "emotional exposure is dangerous." "I figured," Evan said softly. Her eyes narrowed. "You are not afraid." "I am," Evan admitted, "but not of you." That made her pause. "Then of what?" "Of misunderstanding," he said. "Of turning allies into enemies because of words." The red tint returned faintly just for a moment. Threxka straightened. "This matter is not concluded," she said. "Your presence has effects." "Yeah," Evan said. "I seem to have that problem." For the first time, the corner of her mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. She turned to leave. "Human," she said at the door. "Yes." "Do not use that word again." Evan nodded. "Understood." She hesitated. "Unless," she added quietly, "you mean it." Then she was gone. Evan sat there, stunned. Somewhere in the station, alarms sounded as systems adjusted and rumors grew. Because one small human word had done something no weapon ever had. It had made an alien warrior feel. The station did not return to normal after that night. Whispers followed Evan wherever he went. Humans stared at him with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. Crithari warriors watched him openly now, their golden eyes tracking his movements as if he were an unexploded device. He ate alone in the human mess hall, poking at his food while replaying Threxka's last words in his head. "Unless you mean it." He did not know what that meant. He was not sure she did either. Across the station, Commander Threxka stood inside the training hall, surrounded by warriors half her age. They moved in perfect formation, blades flashing, strikes precise and deadly. She corrected them with sharp commands, her voice calm and cold, but something was wrong. Her timing was perfect, her form flawless, yet her focus slipped at strange moments. A half-second delay, a breath held too long. She dismissed the warriors early. They left without question, but several exchanged looks. Crithari noticed weakness. They were trained too. Alone, Threxka removed her helmet and pressed her palm against the cool metal wall. Her skin remained its normal slate gray, but she could still feel the heat under it, like embers refusing to die. A human word had done this. Not an enemy blade, not a battlefield wound. A word. She activated her private terminal and began searching human linguistic databases. Cultural context, emotional language, nonverbal cues. The sheer volume of information was irritating. Humans spoke with their faces, their hands, their tone. They said one thing and meant three others. Cute. The word appeared again and again, used for animals, children, objects. Sometimes even for people who were strong. It was illogical, her communicator chimed. "Commander," came Rithkan's voice. "The council requests your presence." Threxka straightened. "I am on my way." The Krithari council chamber was circular, cold, and intentionally uncomfortable. 6 elders stood at its center, their armor ceremonial but still functional. They did not waste time. "The human has caused disruption," one elder said. "He has compromised you," said another. Threxka met their gazes without flinching. He spoke a word without understanding its impact. "And you reacted," an elder replied, publicly. "That reaction was involuntary," she said, "and irrelevant to my command capability." A low murmur spread. "Is it?" the eldest asked. "Your warriors sense instability." Threxka's jaw tightened. "I remain fit to lead." "Then prove it," the elder said. "Maintain distance from the human. No further interaction beyond necessity." Threxka hesitated for half a heartbeat. "Understood," she said. Back in his quarters, Evan received the official notice an hour later. Restricted interaction with Krithari command staff. "Fantastic," he muttered. Still, duty was duty. The joint station required cooperation, especially with rising threats near the border systems. Evan was scheduled to attend a tactical briefing the next day, his presence mandatory. He arrived early, hoping to avoid attention. The briefing room filled with humans and Krithari alike. The atmosphere was tense. News of raids by the Varkin, a hostile species, had everyone on edge. Then Threxka entered. She did not look at Evan. She spoke with authority, projecting star maps and attack vectors. Her voice was steady, controlled, every inch the legendary commander. Evan watched quietly, impressed despite himself. She was brilliant. Halfway through the briefing, a human officer raised a concern about evacuation routes. Threxka responded instantly, adjusting projections, explaining Krithari defensive doctrines in simplified terms. Humans nodded, understanding. It was working. Then the door burst open, an alarm blared. "Security breach," a voice shouted. The lights dimmed. Red warnings flashed. "Varkin scouts," a Krithari officer reported. "They've boarded the outer ring." The room erupted into motion. Threxka took command without hesitation. Orders flew, warriors moved, humans followed. Evan stood frozen for a moment. He was not trained for combat. He had no weapon. Then he saw it. A human technician trapped near a side corridor, frozen in panic as smoke filled the hall. Evan ran. He grabbed the technician's arm and pulled her away just as a blast shook the corridor. They hit the floor hard, coughing. Krithari warriors charged past them, blades glowing. Threxka saw Evan through the smoke, unarmed, exposed, protecting someone else. Her chest tightened. "No," she whispered, then louder, "Human, get back." Evan did not hear her. He helped the technician to her feet and pushed her toward safety. Then the ceiling above him collapsed. A heavy beam crashed down, pinning his leg. Pain exploded through him. Threxka did not think. She moved. She tore through debris, lifting the beam with raw strength and dragging Evan free just as another explosion rocked the corridor. She shielded him with her body as debris fell. When the smoke cleared, they were pressed close, her arm around him, his head against her chest. Too close, too personal. Her skin flushed red instantly. Evan looked up, dazed. "Hey," he said weakly. "Guess I should start charging rescue fees." She stared down at him, breathing hard. "You are injured," she said. "I'll live," he replied. "Thanks for the save." Their eyes met. The red spread deeper. A Krithari warrior approached and froze when he saw her coloration. "Commander." "Secure the corridor," Threxka snapped, stepping back abruptly. She handed Evan to the med team without another word. The Varkin were repelled within the hour. Damage was contained. Casualties minimal. But the damage no report recorded was already done. The council reconvened. "You disobeyed," an elder said coldly. "I protected an ally," Threxka replied. "You exposed emotional weakness again." "Strength is not the absence of emotion," she said, surprising even herself. "It is control of it." Silence followed. Meanwhile, Evan lay in the med bay, leg wrapped and aching. A human doctor shook her head. "You're lucky," she said. "Another inch and that beam would have crushed bone." "Yeah," Evan said. "Lucky me." The door slid open. Threxka stood there. The doctor glanced between them, then quietly left. They stood in silence. "You should not have risked yourself," Threxka said. "Someone had to," Evan replied. "That's kind of our thing." She studied him. "You are aware your behavior confuses my people." Evan smiled faintly. "Join the club." A pause. "The council believes you weaken me," she said. "And do you?" Evan asked gently. She did not answer right away. "When I am near you," she said slowly, "I feel aware of things I was trained to ignore." "Like what?" She hesitated. "Choice," she said. The word hung between them. Evan nodded. "That's scary for everyone." Her skin warmed again, but she did not turn away this time. "This alliance," she said, "will face greater threats soon." "I know," Evan said. "That's why we need to trust each other." She met his gaze. "For now," she said, "we proceed with caution." "Fair," Evan replied. She turned to leave, then stopped. "The word," she said quietly, "cute." "Yes," he smiled softly. "I meant it." Her skin flushed red, brighter than before. She left without another word, but this time her steps were not as rigid. And across Station K-17, warriors and humans alike began to realize something important. The human was not a weakness. He was a change. And change, once started, could not be stopped. Station K continued to function, but the balance had shifted. Krithari warriors trained harder than before, as if strength alone could erase doubt. Humans spoke more carefully, choosing words like tools instead of habits. And at the center of it all were two people trying very hard not to think about each other. Evan's leg healed quickly, but he was placed on limited movement orders. He spent most of his time in briefings, reports, and quiet observation. Wherever he went, Krithari eyes followed. Not hostile, curious. Threxka noticed it too. She stood on the upper observation deck, arms behind her back, watching joint patrols move through the station. Humans walked beside Krithari now, no longer separated by invisible lines. That had not happened before. "You are watching them again," Rithkan said calmly beside her. "They are my responsibility," Threxka replied. "Is that all?" the elder asked. She did not answer. Reports arrived hourly. The Varkin were gathering forces, not just raiders this time, organized fleets. Purposeful movement. War was coming. During a high-level strategy meeting, tension filled the air like static. Holographic stars glowed between officers. "The Varkin do not fear us," a Krithari tactician said. "They believe we are divided." "They're not wrong," a human commander replied. "We don't fight the same way." Threxka listened in silence. Then Evan spoke. "What if that's the point?" he said. All eyes turned to him. He stood slowly, leaning on the table for balance. "The Varkin expect strength in one form. Numbers, weapons, fear. Krithari match that. Humans don't, but we adapt." A murmur spread. "They won't understand hesitation," a Krithari officer argued. "They'll understand unpredictability," Evan replied. "And cooperation." Threxka studied him. "Explain," she said. Evan tapped the display, highlighting narrow corridors and energy choke points across nearby systems. "They're strong in open combat, but joint units can force them into situations where brute force fails." Silence followed. Finally, Threxka nodded. "Prepare simulations." After the meeting, she stopped him in the corridor. "You spoke with confidence," she said. "I believed what I said," Evan replied. "That belief spreads," she said. "It is disruptive." "Change usually is," Evan said. Her skin warmed faintly, but she did not comment. Not everyone approved. Later that cycle, Threxka was summoned again, this time not by the council but by her own warriors. A group of veteran Krithari stood in the training hall, their posture respectful but firm. "Commander," one said, "we request clarity." "Speak," she replied. "You favor the human," another said carefully. Threxka's eyes sharpened. "I value competence. He influences strategy. He provides perspective. He weakens tradition." That struck harder than expected. "Our traditions were forged in endless war," Threxka said. "They kept us alive. They are not unbreakable." A ripple of discomfort moved through the group. "You feel differently since meeting him," the first warrior said. Threxka did not deny it. "I feel aware," she said. "And that awareness has not dulled my blade." Silence followed. Finally, one warrior bowed his head. "Then we will watch and judge by results." That night the Varking struck again. Not the station. A nearby civilian transport carrying both human and Krithari families. The distress signal cut through every channel. Threxka reacted instantly. "Prepare strike teams." Evan was already moving. "I'm coming." "No," she said. "You are not combat ready." "I don't need a weapon to help," he said. "You know that." She hesitated, then nodded. "Stay with command." The transport drifted powerless, surrounded by Varking ships. Boarding pods launched. Joint teams deployed. Inside the transport, chaos ruled, screaming, smoke, panic. Evan coordinated evacuations, guiding civilians through damaged corridors. He spoke calmly, clearly. People listened. A Varking unit breached the command deck. Threxka engaged them head-on, her blade flashing, movements perfect. But there were too many. A blast knocked her back. Her vision blurred. A Varking raised its weapon and froze. A human child stood between them, shaking but defiant. "No," the child said. The Varking hesitated, confused. Threxka did not. She struck. When it was over, she stood trembling, not from injury but from something deeper. The child stared up at her. "Are you scary?" Threxka paused. "Yes," she said. The child smiled. "You're also kind." Her skin flushed red openly in front of everyone. The evacuation succeeded. Losses were minimal, but the image spread quickly. A Krithari commander glowing red while protecting civilians. Back on Station K-17, the council could no longer ignore it. "You endanger our image," an elder said. "I strengthen it," Threxka replied. "You show emotion. I show purpose." They fell silent. Evan waited outside the chamber, pacing. When she emerged, he searched her face. "Well," he asked. "They are reconsidering," she said. He smiled. "That's progress." She studied him for a long moment. "Why do humans persist?" she asked. "Even when afraid," Evan thought. "Because fear doesn't mean stop, it just means careful." She nodded slowly. "I will lead the joint defense," she said. "With you advising." Evan blinked. "That's a big step." "For both our peoples," she said. Alarms sounded again, this time distant, ominous. Long-range sensors detected a Varking fleet moving toward the sector. War was no longer a possibility, it was coming. Threxka looked at Evan. "When this begins," she said, "many will test our unity." "Then we show them it's real," Evan replied. Her skin glowed faint red, not from confusion, not from surprise, from resolve. And for the first time, the Krithari commander did not try to hide it, because the galaxy was about to learn something important. Human strength was not loud, but it endured. And once it stood beside you, it did not step away. The fleet arrived at the edge of the sector like a spreading shadow. Varking warships filled the dark, their shapes sharp and uneven, designed for fear as much as combat. Sensors counted them again and again, hoping the numbers would change. They did not. On Station K-17, alarms sounded in steady pulses, not panic alarms, war alarms. Threxka stood at the command platform, armor sealed, blade secured at her side. Around her, humans and Krithari worked together in tight focus. No shouting, no confusion. Evan stood beside her, tablet in hand, eyes moving between displays. "They're probing our outer defenses," he said, "testing response time." "They always do," Threxka replied. "They believe fear weakens coordination." "Then they're about to be disappointed," Evan said. She glanced at him. A small thing, but noticeable. Joint fleets moved into position. Krithari cruisers formed the heavy line, weapons charged and shields overlapping. Human ships weaved between them, smaller, faster, broadcasting constant data streams. Different styles, one purpose. The first Varkine strike came hard. Energy fire lit the void, shields flared, space shook with silent violence. "Hold formation," Threxka commanded. Human captains followed without hesitation. Varkine ships surged forward, confident in numbers. They pressed against the Krithari line, seeking cracks. They did not expect what came next. Human ships darted forward not to attack but to disrupt. Electronic interference spread like fog. False signals bloomed across Varkine sensors. "They're confused," Evan said. "Good." Krithari weapons fired in precise bursts, hitting exposed ships. One by one, Varkine vessels fell back, damaged or destroyed. But the Varkine adapted quickly. "They're redirecting," a Krithari officer warned. "They are targeting the station." Threxka's eyes hardened. "They seek civilians." "They always do," Evan said quietly. "Prepare defensive rotation," Threxka ordered. "All units protect the station." The battle shifted. Human ships moved to intercept, drawing fire away. Krithari cruisers repositioned, absorbing heavy hits. Inside the station, civilians sheltered as defense systems powered up. A sudden explosion rocked the outer ring. "They've breached docking bay 7, came the report. Threxka turned to Evan. "Stay here." "I can help coordinate evacuations," he said. "You are needed here," she replied firmly. Their eyes locked, then she nodded once. "Be careful." She led boarding teams personally. Inside docking bay 7, smoke filled the air. Varkine soldiers poured through the breach, weapons raised, movements aggressive and brutal. Threxka moved like a storm. Her blade cut clean arcs through the chaos. Warriors followed her, disciplined and deadly. But the Varkine pushed hard. They wanted her. A Varkine commander stepped forward, towering and scarred. "Krithari," it hissed. "You have changed." Threxka met its gaze. "We have evolved." They clashed. The Varkine commander was strong. Each strike shook her arms, sparks flew. Metal screamed. Around them the fight raged. The Varkine commander struck low. Threxka staggered. The creature laughed. "Emotion weakens you." "No," she said, rising. "It anchors me." She struck back with controlled fury, driving the Varkine into retreat. A final blow ended the fight. But the cost was not small. Reports came fast. Multiple breaches, fires, casualties. At the command center, Evan worked without pause. He rerouted power, coordinated med teams, and guided civilians through safe corridors. A young Krithari officer hesitated beside him. "Why do you help those you do not know?" Evan glanced at him. "Because someday I might be the one who needs help." The officer nodded slowly and ran off. Then the worst message arrived. "Commander Threxka is injured," a voice said over the channel. Evan froze. "Severity?" he asked. "Functional but compromised," came the reply. "She refuses to withdraw." Evan closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. "Patch me through to her," he said. Static crackled. Then her voice came through, strained but steady. "I am occupied," Threxka said. "You're not invincible," Evan replied. "I am Krithari." "And you're bleeding," he said. "That matters." A pause. "They press harder," she said. "They know this station matters." "So do we," Evan replied. "Pull back to defensive line beta. Let the humans cover the flank." "That would expose you." "Yes," Evan said, "on purpose." Another pause, longer. "Then you trust us," she said. "I do," Evan replied, her breath steadied. "All units," she commanded, "execute rotation." Now, the plan worked. Human ships drew Varking fire, dancing through space with impossible turns. Crithari cruisers reformed behind them, shields regenerating. Varking losses mounted, but desperation made them reckless. One final Varking ship broke through, aimed straight at the station's core. Evan saw it first. "If that hits," he said, "the station goes with it." Threxka saw it too. She did not hesitate. She ordered her ship forward, direct collision course. "Commander," multiple voices shouted. She ignored them. Her ship slammed into the Varking vessel, weapons firing at point-blank range. The explosion tore both ships apart. The Varking ship was destroyed. Threxka's ship was crippled. "Commander," Evan shouted into the channel. "Respond." Silence. The battle ended moments later. Varking forces retreated, broken and scattered. Victory came, but it felt hollow. Rescue teams searched the wreckage. Evan waited, hands shaking, refusing to sit. Hours passed. Then a signal. A damaged Crithari pod was recovered. Inside was Threxka, alive, barely. In the medical bay, machines hummed softly. Threxka lay still, armor removed, skin pale gray. Evan stood at her side, quiet. Rithkan joined him. "She will recover," the elder said, "but her actions will be debated." "She saved everyone," Evan said. "Yes," Rithkan replied, "and she did so because she chose to." Threxka stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. Evan leaned forward. "Hey," she focused on him. "You disobeyed me," she said weakly. "Yeah," Evan said, "get used to it." A faint red tint touched her cheeks. "The station stands," she said. "It does," Evan replied. "Because of you." She closed her eyes briefly. "When I wake fully," she said, "there will be consequences." "Probably," Evan agreed. "But also respect." Her lips curved slightly. "You still believe that word?" she asked quietly. He smiled gently. "More than ever." The red deepened. Outside the med bay, warriors and humans waited together, not divided, not afraid. They had seen what unity looked like, and no council ruling could undo that. The war was not over, but something fundamental had changed. The Crithari no longer stood alone, and humans were no longer guests. They were partners. And in the quiet hum of the medical bay, as an alien warrior healed beside a human diplomat, the future of the alliance took its strongest breath yet. The sector was quiet, but the calm felt fragile. Every sensor blinked like a heartbeat, reminding the people of Station K that the Varking were still out there. They had retreated, but they would return. The galaxy did not forgive weakness or hesitation. Evan Hale walked along the main corridor, tablet in hand, reviewing after-action reports. The station was recovering. Repairs were ongoing, humans and Crithari working side by side. Every day the same teams rebuilt what had been broken, welded what had been torn, cleaned what had been scorched. But amid the rubble something new was forming: respect. Threxka had returned from the med bay fully healed, though scars ran faintly along her forearms and shoulders, reminders of the last battle. She moved with her usual precision, but Evan noticed subtle changes. She did not avoid his gaze, not as sharply as before. Her golden eyes lingered for a fraction longer when they met his. "Commander," Evan said, approaching her, "the status reports show full operational capacity in 72 hours. We're ahead of schedule." She studied him, expression unreadable. "You have a way of making humans seem indispensable." Evan chuckled softly. "Indispensable, yes, fearless, not always." Her lips twitched. Not a smile exactly, but a hint of one. Her skin warmed faintly, as it always did when she was uncertain or feeling. The council summoned her again, this time to formally debrief the battle and review strategy against the Varking threat. Evan accompanied her, not as a combatant, but as a liaison. Inside the chamber, elders of Crithari and human representatives gathered. Holographic projections of Varking fleets and supply lines floated between them, casting a faint blue glow across the serious faces. "Commander Threxka," the eldest began, voice resonant, "your actions during the raid have been remarkable. However, your deviation from protocol has been noted. Threxka's posture stiffened. I acted in defense of civilians and station personnel. Every decision was calculated to minimize loss. And yet, the elder continued, you allowed emotional judgment to influence strategy. Her golden eyes flared. Emotion does not weaken a leader. Understanding, adaptability, and awareness, these make strength. The human liaison beside me demonstrates this. His insight prevented countless deaths. His unconventional thinking is not weakness, it is a tool. Evan blinked, caught off guard by the public declaration. Even the Human Council representatives murmured approval, though cautiously. The room fell silent. The Krithari elders exchanged glances. Some frowned. Others studied Threxka carefully. You believe a human is capable of teaching warriors strategy? The eldest asked. Evan shifted slightly, uncomfortable under the scrutiny. Threxka's gaze met his. I do not claim he teaches, she said calmly. He complements our capabilities. His perspective has value. So does his courage. A ripple passed through the chamber. It was subtle but significant. The eldest leaned back, voice quieter. You challenge tradition, Commander. I challenge rigidity, Threxka replied. Inflexibility kills faster than any blade. The Varkin learned this. And we survived because of collaboration. Another pause. Then the elder spoke with a tone softer than before. Then we shall observe with caution, but you have proven results. Outside the chamber, Evan let out a slow breath. That went better than expected. Threxka glanced at him, lips twitching faintly. Better than expected, yes, but observation will continue. I am not absolved. I don't expect absolution, he said. I just wanted you to know you're impressive. Her skin flushed lightly, a warm red creeping along her cheeks and neck. It was subtle, unlike before. Controlled. She looked away. You are reckless with words, she said quietly. And you're reckless with your opinions, he countered with a grin. But it seems to work. A faint laugh escaped her. Not loud, not obvious, but genuine. Days passed. Training resumed. Patrols continued. Repairs were completed. Humans and Krithari worked side by side as the station prepared for inevitable conflict. Every interaction built trust. Every coordinated maneuver strengthened unity. And every glance exchanged between Threxka and Evan carried a quiet weight, unspoken but understood. One evening, as the station rotated into orbit around a gas giant, Evan found himself standing on the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly before him. The gas giant glowed softly, clouds of amber and violet swirling across its surface. Footsteps approached. Threxka joined him silently, hands behind her back, blade at her side. You often observe from here, she said. I like perspective, Evan replied. And it's quiet, you can think. Her golden eyes followed the patterns of stars. Thinking is dangerous for a Krithari, she said. Too much consideration can be interpreted as doubt. Or understanding, he said. She looked at him, a hint of curiosity in her expression. Understanding is rare, he smiled faintly. Then I'm glad you're trying. A soft hum of the station surrounded them. Evan glanced at her. Commander, do you ever wonder why we survived? Why humans and Krithari can work together? Her eyes met his. Because we chose to, not because it is natural, not because it is easy, but because the alternative is extinction. He nodded. I think the alternative would have been worse anyway. Alone, we wouldn't have lasted. Together, maybe we have a chance. She studied him in silence. Then, almost imperceptibly, she said, You said something on your first day here. A word, a human word. It disturbed me. I remember, he said. I didn't mean to, but I meant it anyway. Her skin warmed slightly, the red subtle but visible in the soft light. And yet you persisted in being human. Is that a bad thing? He asked gently. No, she admitted. It is inconvenient. He chuckled softly. Inconvenient can be useful. She looked at him for a long moment, then turned her gaze to the stars. Perhaps. A week later, intelligence reported movement. A Varkin fleet was reforming. Not a small strike group, an entire flotilla. They were heading toward the sector with the intent to destroy Station K-17 and cripple the Human-Chthari alliance. The station went on high alert. Preparations were meticulous, careful, and precise. Threxka and Evan worked side by side, combining strategy with insight, discipline with creativity. Every plan accounted for every possible outcome. The day of the battle arrived. Varking ships entered sensor range. Energy weapons flared in the darkness. The first waves were met with joint resistance. Human tactics disrupted formations. Chthari firepower eliminated critical threats. Civilians and damaged transports were evacuated in perfect coordination. Evan's voice rang in the command center, guiding teams, adjusting priorities. He moved among the officers, human and Chthari alike, offering advice, encouragement, and direction. Threxka fought in space with the same precision she always had, leading boarding teams personally, cutting through the enemy ranks, her red skin flaring faintly under stress and exertion. But there was no hesitation now, no confusion. Every glance at Evan, every word he spoke, strengthened her resolve. Hours later, the Varking fleet broke apart. Losses were heavy, retreat inevitable, victory belonged to the Alliance. In the aftermath, the station breathed again. Repairs, debriefings, and celebrations followed. Human and Chthari together, united not by necessity, but by trust earned on the battlefield. Evan walked through the corridors, watching teams laugh quietly as they worked. Even the youngest Chthari warriors were smiling, something almost impossible to witness before. He found Threxka on the observation deck again. The gas giant had shifted in the sky. Light reflected off her armor and hair. She did not turn when he approached. "You did well," he said quietly. "We did well," she corrected. He smiled. "I suppose that's true." A long pause passed. Then softly she spoke, almost a whisper. "Do you still think it?" Evan blinked. "Think what?" "The word," she said, eyes not leaving the swirling clouds of the gas giant. "The first word you spoke to me." "Cute?" he asked. Her skin warmed faintly, the red more noticeable than usual. "Yes." "I meant it then," he said. "I mean it now." She turned to him slowly, expression unreadable for a moment. Then her lips curved slightly. Not a full smile, but enough to show amusement, pride, and something else entirely, acceptance. "I see," she said quietly. "It is human to persist." "And it works," he said softly. Her red tint deepened, but she did not turn away. She stepped closer. "Perhaps it does," she admitted. The galaxy stretched endlessly beyond the station windows, stars and planets spinning silently in the void. It was vast, dangerous, and unforgiving. But together, humans and Chthari had found a new way forward. And in that quiet, shared moment, Evan realized something. Strength was not only measured in weapons or training. It was measured in courage, trust, and the willingness to stand beside someone else when everything else screamed not to. Threxka placed a hand lightly on the railing beside him. Their shoulders nearly touched. "You are still reckless with words," she said softly. "And you're still amazing with blades," he replied. Her skin flushed brighter, not from anger, not from confusion, pride, respect. Acknowledgement, yes, she admitted, and perhaps a little curious. Evan smiled, quiet but full of warmth. "Curiosity is human too," she glanced at him. "Then we are allies in more ways than one." The stars stretched above them, endless and silent. But for the first time the future felt certain. Not because the war was over, not because the threat was gone, but because humans and Chthari had chosen each other. And nothing, not fleets, not fear, not ancient tradition, could undo that choice. In the quiet glow of the observation deck, two figures stood side by side, a human and a Chthari warrior. One had taught the other that strength could be more than muscle. The other had shown that courage could be more than instinct. Together, they had changed the meaning of alliance forever. And in that galaxy full of darkness, that small, bright connection was enough to ignite hope.